Welcome back. We're here live coming to you from Philomena's in Waterford, Connecticut. And we want to give a big thank you to Mike Bacetto and his family for having us here tonight. Today's guest needs no introduction. He stands 6'6", and he's ranking 12th in the professional boxing heavyweight division. His name is Cassius Chaney. Thank you for joining us today, Cassius.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Alchemist wanted to ask you about is when in your life did you find the love for boxing?
I would say it started early, about maybe when I was about 6 or 7 years old. We used to go to my aunt's house and we'd watch mega fights and things like that. But as a kid, I never really met anybody or kids that were doing it. You know, in my neighborhood, it was a lot of basketball, so that was something that I gravitated to. But I knew that in college, you know, maybe like my senior year, I started to feel like, man, I think I could be a fighter. You know, I think I should fight. And I walked into the gym and that was it. I didn't look back.
So what was the first gym that you walked into for boxing?
So at the time it was called Strike Zone, but now it's Wheeling City Athletic Club. And I was a little nervous at first, you know, walking in. I was supposed to go play basketball over in South Africa at the time. And so, you know, me staying with my grandmother here, she was kind of like, she was happy that I was, you know, gearing up to go, but at the same time, I know she was like sad about it. So it ended up working out, because when I walked into the boxing gym and Coach Kent, Coach Rowley, Fred Weaver, Orlando Peace, those guys were in there, and I was like, yeah, I can do it. You know, I'll fight. You know, they asked me right away, and I just stuck with it.
That's awesome, man. You know, and you're a big guy as it is, so, you know, I think, you know, you had somewhat of a basketball career as well. As you said, you were going to go over to Europe and play. So a lot of people might not know this about you, but you did play basketball at the University of New Haven.
Yeah.
I knew you since you were in high school. So you were at Old Saybrook High, I believe. And we used to play in men's leagues over at the Martin Center long time ago. And there'd be this young kid walking around the side. And, you know, he looked like a baller, but he wasn't standing 6'6". So I remember looking at him, and he would want a shot to get on the court with us. And I gave him a shot one time to come play with us, and he did his thing. So, and that was standing 6'1", 6'2" at that point.
Yeah, I remember freshman, sophomore in high school.
Yep. So, how did things take off from there? You know, how did you get looked at by New Haven? Like, when did your growth spurt happen? You know, stuff like that.
I think it was just like a collective effort when I came here. Obviously, New London is a city, but it was a lot smaller than coming from Baltimore, you know, and I always tell this story, and I know he always hears it, but I'm walking up up Montauk one day, and I'm just dribbling a basketball, and Mr. Bacetto runs out the door, and I'm like, first thing I'm saying, I ain't do nothing, and he goes, hey, you know, I'm Mr. Bacetto, so if you want some ice cream or something, just go up and tell him that I sent you. And I'm
That's
like,
how he got you.
but I'm like, all right, free ice cream, man. I'm going. So, you know, maybe 20 minutes later when I get home, I told my grandma, and she's like, yeah, I know Mike. He's a great guy, and you know, if he told you to go do it, you can go do it. And from then on, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get ice cream because he gave me the A-OK. So I was about 14 at the time. So I think it was just like a collective effort for me. I mean, a collective support group for me, and I always stayed out of trouble, so I think it helped me when I was here. You know, I was kind of just on my own.
They were accepting of you.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I was pretty much on my own, so it was cool.
That's awesome. I know the Bacetto family, you know, they've helped a lot of people around here. You know, I know Mike Bacetto's son, Mike Bacetto III, he's playing at Mitchell. So there's a lot of good basketball around here too. And, you know, I know you have an older brother as well, Alan Chaney, who played basketball.
I'm the older brother.
Oh, you're older than him?
Yeah, we do have an older brother, but I'm older than him.
I thought Alan was older than you.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I just look.
So Alan's a little bit younger, But he's taller than you?
Yep, he's 6'9", yeah.
So
yeah.
his brother Alan, 6'9", played at, I want to say Virginia Tech, Florida,
Yeah.
some big time schools for basketball. Were you able to handle him on the court, or what was the deal there?
I was better than him. I'm not even gonna say it. But I will say this, like, I mean, he had like a crazy growth spurt in one summer. It was like 7 inches.
Yeah.
So obviously, he felt like he was the big brother at the time, but I wasn't giving it up, and we had our battles, but I was the big brother. So,
You had to get him.
more experience.
So when you were at University of New Haven, we'll get back to that real quick. Did you break any records? Like, what position did they have you play there?
UNH, I pretty much did everything, at that time. It was different from now. I think now the coach is a lot more, he recruits good and things like that. For me, at the time, I was like rookie of the year, all conference as a freshman.
Oh, wow.
I probably was all conference every year, I believe, and I'm like 5th in points and 6th in rebounds.
Wow.
Something like that,
So you're still in the record books over there.
Yeah, which is cool. That's awesome for me. I think, going to college, I just felt like go there, have fun, play basketball, but I don't really feel like I even went to college because I never went out. I didn't party. I didn't do anything. Never went out.
So I know even like tonight and other times I talk to you, I've said, hey, you want a drink? And you're like, no, I'm good. How do you stay away from that? Like being in the limelight the way you are, like playing at a high level basketball, being a heavyweight boxer, you're ranked 12th in the country right now, as far as heavyweight boxers. Like, how do you stay out of that stuff? Is there a lot of pressure there, like to have a drink or to go out with guys and stuff like that? Or are you around the right people to stay away?
Now, all my friends actually drink, and they always ask me that, but I like being designated driver. Like, I don't know, I find it like cool to, hey, you can call me and I'll give you a ride home. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got you. So it's like, in high school I was the same way. I would just, if somebody needed a ride, I'll give you a ride. It's no big deal. So.
Well, you know what? I give you a lot of credit for that because I know it was, for me, like stopping to play sports. When I got done with college sports, it was like the one thing that, I know me and a lot of people turned to when the career was done, was to get into drinking and hanging out and socializing and stuff like that. So I give you a lot of respect for not turning that direction and keeping yourself healthy and keep going in the right direction there.
Yeah, thank you.
So boxing kind of came late for you. You had a little love for it early, but it happened for you. I wouldn't say late, but how old do you think you were? Like 20?
I was like 22 at the time. When I first started, when I walked in the gym at Strike Zone, I was 22.
Yeah.
But I felt fresh. Like I said, I played at every game in college, and I felt like I didn't have any real wear and tear. Like I wasn't sore. It was like either I'm gonna do it or I'm gonna play basketball.
Gotcha.
And at the time, I was kind of still doing both, like here and there. But
I used to try to pick you up.
Yeah. So, but
I was still trying to grab him while he was in the He goes, I got to talk to my coach.
I was still
trying to get him on the court.
Kind of doing it, but once I hit, the amateurs and I fought and I won the gloves that first year, I was like, I can do it. Like I can really do it. Like, I was beating guys with way more experience than me.
So you knew you had it at that point.
Yeah, I felt like I was smart enough to do it,
Yeah.
and it was cool, so I stuck with it.
That's awesome, man. I know you got a big backing right around here in this area, and I'm sure from Baltimore, and now you probably have following from New York and Philly and everywhere. So do you feel like basketball helped propel you into boxing? Like, was there things that you learned from basketball that kind of propelled your career in boxing that you took from it?
Yeah.
Like the competitiveness? Or?
Yeah, for sure. It's weird because I feel like with basketball, your footwork, you kind of like reading the floor, you know what I mean? And it's offense, defense.
Yeah.
So boxing, fencing, they're all the same kind of offense, defense. Whereas I think if I played football, I probably would have went to the NFL if I stuck with it. Like somebody would have coached me into it.
Because you had the athletics.
Yeah, and I was big, but I think what happens is the stop and go of football is hard to translate when football players come to boxing.
Basketball, there's a lot of running, there's a lot of cardio, there's a lot
cutting,
of cutting.
anticipation.
Similar footwork.
Yeah, yep. So, and I fought a lot of football guys. They more aggressive than me,
Yeah.
but they're over aggressive. You know, they
And
mad.
and their technicality and footwork's off.
They trying to like knock me out. You know, and it's like I'm a basketball guy, so I'm moving around. Yeah, so.
So Cassius actually fits you pretty well then.
Yep, I was named after the. Yep, I was named after the great.
When you look back at Cassius Clay, you know, it's float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. He was moving around, and sometimes, you know, he took a beating all the way to that last round, and then he would just get it done and just the endurance would win.
I'm named after the greatest. So.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Cool, yeah,
you got a lot to live up to there.
I do.
But you're doing good so far, and you're heading in that direction. So, tell us more. You know, we talked about the basketball thing, but tell us more about your goals for boxing. You know, like what goals do you have now? You're 22-1, correct?
Yeah, I hate hearing that too.
I hear you. But I mean, most fighters like have taken a loss. I mean, at one point or other, and sometimes there's a good lesson to be learned in the loss, more lesson to be learned than a win.
Right.
You know, because you look at what you might have done wrong and how you can improve on that stuff. But what are your goals now? Like you're 22-1. You know, you're probably just underneath that top tier of boxers that you see on TV all the time. What are your goals, and how do you plan to achieve them?
I think, the main goal is to be heavyweight champion of the world. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's just the ultimate dream and goal there is, because I think the money comes with the passion and the want to be the best, you know. But I think for me to get to that would be somewhat focusing solely on boxing, and that's the hard part for me. Like, in a way, it's good that I'm here, you know, because I get to work with the kids and be around the kids, but at the same time, it's hard to train for a fight here.
Right.
And that's something I learned, recently, just because if a kid calls me and says, hey, can you bring me to the movies, I'm probably going to say, yeah, I'll go with you to the movies. So I'm learning that, for you to, do this, you have to be like locked in.
100%
Yeah,
committed.
so that's why it's good for me to go to Philly or go somewhere else, because that's all I'm doing. So I think that would be like the number one thing. And then just staying consistent, like with my nutrition and stuff like that, which I'm pretty good with. When I'm doing it, I'm pretty good with it. Like if I get up and feel like cooking it and stuff like that, I'll stick with it. But if I want to like have a cheeseburger, it's it's tough.
Well, listen, man, you're very close to getting to that level where you can, get a good purse, from a fight. And when that happens, then you can start getting a cook, you can start getting a driver, you can start getting these trainers, and these people will do it for you.
Right.
And then you don't have to make that decision anymore.
Right.
So that's the goal. Obviously, you're not focused on the money, but it's, it's achieving your goals. It's doing what you set out to do. You're a good guy. You'd rather be helping children and stuff. We'll talk about that a little later in the episode. But what would you say your diet looks like as a heavyweight boxer? Because you want to stay big, but at the same point, you want to probably curb what you're eating because you don't want to eat the wrong foods.
Right. I would say the best time that I think I've had is when I've kind of overloaded on like protein, but for me, I do need carbs, obviously, because you're working out.
Yeah.
But if I'm consistent, like overloading with like ground turkey and stuff, I'm pretty simple. I don't really because I like to cook it myself, so I won't do anything extravagant. I'm not like a steak eater, really. I'll go the whole camp without eating a steak and then eat a steak the night before.
I'm gonna put one in front of you and see what happens.
I will eat it. I will eat it. Like the night before my fights, I usually have steak and potato all the time. But I can go through a whole camp 8 weeks and I won't like eat any steak, anything like that. Because I don't know how to really cook it. And for me, but I'll stick to the ground turkey and ground chicken, and I can eat that on the go. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like right after training. So I think I'm pretty consistent when I'm I'm gonna get up and do it, and I go to sleep, and I get that type of thing. So
do you pre-pack your meals, or do you just make them on the fly? Like, will you cook one time and make it all for the week?
Yeah, I'll
Pretty
do that.
much?
Yeah, typically, and I'll store it, and then I'll boom, boom, boom. But
Just pull it out when you need
yeah,
it.
but in Philly, I have my cousins are there. They all girls, so they help me out. So I'm like kind of like spoiled in Philly. They do it, bring it to me, and I'll have it. You know what I mean? So
I was wondering why you was training down in Philly.
Yeah, I got my cousins there.
Yeah, okay.
They
so
were
now
there.
we got the insight to that.
Yeah.
So training's good because the diet's good as well.
Yeah, my big cousin. Yep.
So that's awesome. What would you say is the hardest part of being a professional boxer? Like,
Man,
is it
which part?
the social media? Is it the pressure? Is it people coming out of the woodworks to talk to you? Like, what would you say are the...
So far, I'll be honest, since this is an adult podcast, right? And the hardest part is probably like the attention.
Yeah, from females?
Yeah, like a little bit. Like for me, because, like I said, I went all through high school and college kind of like to myself.
Yeah.
So now you kind of get like attention that is different. It is like, but I'm not a social media guy, so I'm really like if you were to see my social media, I only post stuff that's like somewhat funny or boxing stuff or of my daughter or something like that. I don't post like crazy things, so I'm really like still to myself, but yeah, I would say that probably because I have a lot of friends that box. So you have a lot of friends that box and stuff like that. You get the stories, so I would say that.
I've been around it a little bit too, with I've been around Vinny Paz, I've been around, some of these guys. They're wild, they're wild. They live a different lifestyle. Chuck Liddell, I've been around him, a lot of the MMA fighters. And
they drink, right?
They party.
See,
they party. And you know what? There's women around, there's partying, everything's free, people are covering the tabs. And, it's hard to say no.
Right.
It's very hard to say no, but
that's why I don't drink too, because I'm able to be like, nah, I'm good.
You make a logical decision.
Yeah, because I don't like being tired in the morning. I like to go to sleep, so it's
a train. Good for you, man. I got to say, like, those are the things that will probably get you to the next level. Because a lot of guys, like, you hear the aftermath when you're watching them, what happened to this guy, and then every time the story comes out, it's like the person was partying, they became addicted to drugs. Women. I mean, you see Mike Tyson and all the videos of him with 10 women at a time and all this and that. Those guys, and then they would get in the ring the next day.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know how they did it, but, Who would you like to see next in the ring? I know you, I don't know where you see yourself amongst the greats like Fury, Wilder, Joshua, Usyk, White, Parker, Ruiz. Those are some of the names. I think Klitschko is still in the mix somewhere. Where do you see yourself right now amongst those guys?
If I would say those guys were A plus guys, I would probably be honest and say I'm probably like B plus.
Yeah.
I need to get for me, I think I need to get a fight, like to get me some rounds, and then I need to knock somebody off with a name.
Yeah.
And it just takes one name. It just takes any type of one name to kind of like move my needle,
Yeah.
But it's hard for me like to go into a fight right now and say I'm gonna be like at my best, like physically, like mentally, spiritually, knowing I haven't fought rounds. That last fight at Mohegan, it hurt because
it was
all across the board. Because
I was laying down. I watched that on TV.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this guy doing? And I could see you were upset in the ring.
Yeah, because I felt like I did all this training. I could have just rolled out the bed to go do this, but because of that situation happening, I was able to go to South Africa and help Kevin Lorena.
Yeah.
And it gave me a boost. Like, okay, I know I can hang.
So you got something out of it.
Yeah. I was in shape, and they called me and they said, we want you to come help Kevin for a big fight.
Yeah.
I didn't know him, and I go to South Africa where I was supposed to go play basketball. So right, what's the odds of that?
How ironic is that? So you ended up in South Africa either way. How was that experience? I mean, did you enjoy it there?
The best experience I think I've ever had. Like, going out the country. I've only gone out the country for boxing.
Yeah.
Never for basketball. So for me to go out the country and go to South Africa and they made it a really good experience for me. It was hard because of the altitude, but they wasn't trying to take advantage. They knew that, all right, he's here to learn, work, and I got stronger as the days went on.
Yep.
and they took me on little tours and things like that. It was awesome. Outside the crime and all that crazy stuff, I was like, I could live here. I could see myself moving there and like.
Did they put you in that cage with the great whites out there or no?
No, I wasn't doing safaris. I wasn't doing nothing with live animals.
Because they got some real crazy stuff out there.
I wasn't doing anything with live animals. The crime
lion
thing was scaring me itself. The squatter camps and I was like, nah, I'm good. I wasn't going by myself anywhere.
So you were staying away from the animals.
Yeah, everything. They gave me security and everything. It was cool, but I wasn't doing it.
And then the next thing I wanted to ask you is, we've all seen the video go viral of you knocking the opponent out of the ring. You were getting to him. He started stumbling back. You hit him with a final shot, and then he just flew out of the ring. And I saw that video. I was like, wow, because you don't see that often.
Right.
Especially in heavyweight boxing, a guy getting knocked right out of the ring. So I'm sure you've gotten a lot of attention, and I've seen that video come up time and time again.
It keeps coming up, right?
It keeps coming up. So what was that like? Like, did you get a lot of?
In the moment, I look back on it and I'm like, I was so excited, kind of, because I was mad at the guy, because we were supposed to fight 2 years prior. And he was putting like, the fight just didn't happen. He was upset at me. He's putting like, I got a body bag for you. And my mom is new to all this. He was
talking like that, huh?
Yeah, so my mom sees the comments on my Facebook. She's like, what's this guy talking about?
Yeah.
He has a body bag for you. And I'm like, Mom, this is boxing. I'm like, I don't know. He's just talking. So now the fight comes around, and I'm like, okay. I'm going to get him, But he was a good fighter. Yeah. Like, he had just beat an undefeated guy.
So he was good.
So he was skilled, and I just felt like, I don't think he took me serious.
Right.
I don't think he thought that, I was still mad at the situation. And I had been in camp almost like 9 weeks before that happened. And so it was just like a crazy moment. If I had it over, I wouldn't do all the cursing at the end. But I was so mad that I didn't care.
Listen, if you're going after somebody in that mentality, and you got that rage, and
I was raging.
And this guy's telling you he's gonna put you in a body bag. I mean, the only thing I can equate it to is, they got the Creed 3 coming out. Stuff like that, where you see it in the movies, Rocky Balboa, and sometimes you see it from the fighters in the media, but I can't even imagine. So it's the same, the other part that happens is in football. Now they got these guys rushing to kill the quarterback. Same type of thing, and then they're like, oh, you got to stop.
Right.
So you're going full speed to blast through somebody, to really get the best of them, and then all of a sudden they're like, you got to stop.
Right, you gotta calm
it's
down.
hard to stop. When you just knock the guy out of the ring, man, you're feeling like king of the mountain.
It was like,
you gotta let some words out,
I think Coach Rowley passed
you gotta
that
become
week,
the alchemist, man.
Rest in peace, Coach Rowley, because he passed that week too. And that was kind of like in my brain a lot, because we would go out to breakfast and stuff when I was here.
I heard he was a
it
good guy.
me and him. So that was in my mind a lot. But when that happened, I don't know, I was just mad. So it just came out.
Well, hey, it came out in a good way, and I think that was a moment that probably helped propel, your career as well. People see that, and the fans, that's what they like. They want to see the knockout and all that stuff. So, so you got a lot of attention from that, but most importantly, I think the one thing I want to touch on, is that I grew up in the same community as you around here, and I've always seen you involved with the youth, giving back to the youth. Tell us more about why you give back as much as you do, and how you've positively impacted your community. I know you said it's hard because kids will ask you for stuff, and it kind of interferes with your training.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's super important because like when I have an older brother, and my older brother is very present. I think now that we're older, he's very present and different now from when I was younger. He's 9 years older than me, and about 11 than Alan. So, but at the time growing up, I didn't have anybody that would bring me to the basketball court and just shoot or show me drills and things like that. So when I came here, and I would get a little bit of attention, you know what I mean, or hey, come play, or You know what I mean? Like it was
Were
a
you
lot
happy
different.
when Picardi said, come on and play with us?
It was
at the Mine
different.
Center?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
He was walking around dribbling the ball on the side. I said, this kid wants to play some ball, man.
Yeah,
I could tell.
Yeah. That's
He
when the
wanted to
Martin
play-
Center was. That's when the Martin Center was the Martin Center.
Oh, we battled, man.
You get what I'm saying? So
We had some battles.
But little moments like that was like, different than when I was growing up. I didn't, like I said, I didn't have older guys that was like, hey, come shoot.
Yeah.
So now that I'm able to say to a kid, hey, you got to put the time in. If you want me to help you, I'll help you. I don't, girl, boy, I don't care. And like, I help out at Benny Dover now, and they might put me in the gym. And I tell kids, if you play basketball, let's go. You know what I mean? I'll put you to some drills, and it's fun. It don't take much energy. Well, it doesn't take energy for me to do that. It doesn't
And it
bore
probably
me.
makes, I bet you it makes those kids, you can see, I've seen you with kids before, and they're smiling, whether it's you coaching them in basketball, or you working with them in the school, or you just walking around with them, at a game or something. And the kids smiling because sometimes they're just happy to have an older role model there with them. Mm-hmm. And especially you being, like a heavyweight boxer on TV, being successful in what you're doing, those kids are probably looking up to you, just like they look up to like Chris Dunn, they look up to, who else? Jordan Reed, some of the other athletes that have come through New London in this area. So I think that's great, and hopefully as you go up, you can continue to give back however that works for you, in the end. But last thing I want to ask you is any upcoming fights that you'll be tuned into coming up. So are there any fighters like you're watching? Are there any fights you're interested in? I mean, we all know John Jones is coming back to the UFC, but that's not really boxing. But
yeah, I'm a John Jones fan. He's probably one of my top 4 fighters ever. You know what I mean? He's just smart.
Yeah. He's
just smart, like super smart. He's fighting Gain, right?
He's fighting Gain, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And he's fought right at the casino for reality fighting. He's from Rochester, New York. He's another guy I'm actually trying to get on the show through a friend of his that trained with him.
Oh yeah, Jones, man. I never met him, but hey.
He's out. I think he's out in like I want to say New Mexico. He's out west somewhere.
Yeah.
So, but he's making his comeback. I know you got Tommy Fury and Jake Paul coming up.
You know what? It's like I'm like in the middle of that. I don't mind because like Jake Paul trains like a fighter.
He does.
It's just that people don't understand. Like he already had money before boxing, so it looks a little weird. But he gives his undercard. He pays them
well.
Yeah, he instead of keeping all the money, he splits it and makes sure his undercards are paid, and that's rare. Floyd didn't really do that. So it's like
Floyd was burning his money.
So
the strip clubs with a lighter.
So I spent time with Tommy Fury.
Yeah,
and he's a good kid. When I was in the UK helping Tyson Fury,
Yeah.
Tommy wasn't even boxing at all. He wasn't even a boxer. He just was like a fitness kid, but he was around
it. He was on TV, I think, too.
Yeah,
reality
he was doing
TV.
like a reality TV or something. So, but he was super fit, and he did boxing, but he wasn't like getting in the ring and sparring or nothing,
Yeah.
But he does. It's in him to do it.
Yeah.
So it might end up being like a legit fight for Jake Paul.
Yeah. So that's what we're hoping for. That's this Sunday.
Yeah.
So did you ever get a chance to spar with Tyson Fury?
Yeah, I loved it. I was there for 2 months, so I went there for the first. So really, I was actually a large part of the reason
You were
why the
holding that
belts
back
got
from us?
lifted. No, I do it. He asked me, but that was a large part of why the belts got lifted. I went there for the first month, and I emulated Klitschko so well that the 30 days was up, and Tyson and his team was like, "Yo, we need you to stay." Like,
oh man!
They flew me back to the States for a day, and then they had to fly me back. And then I did another month, and then he goes and wins the titles off Klitschko. And it was like the biggest thing, like one of the biggest things at the time.
That was huge.
Like, wow, I just helped him. And I only had 4 fights, pro fights at the time.
So you still stay connected with him, or?
I haven't seen him actually since that happened. So at the time, this is boxing. Like at the time, he was with his uncle, Peter Fury, and he left Peter Fury to come train over here in the States.
Gotcha.
So that's where we kind of
Oh, he's in Vegas, I think, right?
Yeah,
Something like
but
that.
I know if he seen me, he would be like, wow.
Yeah,
like,
that might be, you know what, things like that might be what propels you to get that next big fight. He might say, hey, come back to my camp, you start training with him, and then that gets you to that that top 10.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He was awesome though. He was great. Like, to me, he was cool to me. But like I said, I was to myself.
Yeah.
I never went out. I was like,
He seems a little wild.
well, yeah, he was. He was doing some silly stuff at the time, but it was more like he taught me, and some of it is gems, right? Like that I've applied and haven't.
Yeah.
But he taught me in boxing, hey, you're the guy you pay everybody else. You're the boss.
Yeah.
And some days he would come in and say, I don't feel like I'm tired. And sometimes you gotta do that.
Yeah.
You know, because if you say you can go, they're gonna throw you in there and say go, and you're gonna be tired and
get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something I learned, you know, from him.
So have you ever had any major, injuries through training, like that you've had to deal with, like close to fights, or you had to back out, stuff like that?
I didn't back out, but I look back on it and I'm torn between like if I should have backed out the fight that I lost against Arias.
Yeah.
I had like a bad, I tore some cartilage off my rib in training. I was just overtraining, and I don't know, I just felt like if I pull this off, then I'm gonna go crazy in the locker room. I'm gonna go in the locker room and say, I told you.
Yeah.
But, it was hard, and it was just hard to move, So
Yeah.
I would say that. But looking back on it, if that ever happened again, I would say, nah, I can't go.
Yeah.
It's too risky. But, you live and you learn. Like, I played through injuries in college, so.
Yeah, and that's part of the game. I mean, you see a lot of people backing out. A lot of people get hurt.
Serious.
Some people fight through it, some don't. Like, especially if you get a big fight and you went through a whole promotion, like the last thing you want to do is back out.
That's where I thought it would hurt me. I was
especially like I think you were on Triller for that one.
Yeah, I was the second fight.
Second fight on Triller, which is a
event,
big promotion.
I was kind of torn between like I didn't want my name to be he decided he backed out.
Right.
I was a little like torn between the two. It's a business too, so.
At least you got out. I think the fact that you got out there and you worked through it, I think showed a lot about your character.
Yeah, I went to 10, and I felt like, but the times where I had him hurt that I normally can get on a guy, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I felt like if I throw the wrong thing, I might really rip my rib or something, and I was just a little apprehensive,
Yeah, and that throws you off mentally.
Yeah, for sure.
So last thing, I see your belt here on the table, in front of us. And where did that belt come from? What does it exemplify?
So that was a WBC silver title, and I do want the gold one, but I beat Nick Jones for that belt, and it was cool because he came to fight for it, and they have a gold one. I want to get the gold one, and I want to get an NABF title as well. So
what is NABF? What is?
That's a good question. Hold on.
So is one like?
National
are they two?
Boxing Federation.
So are they two different?
Yeah, this is the WBC silver. So you got the main WBC belt, the one that Fury has. These two are under it. So you have to.
Gotcha.
You don't have to collect them, but if you collect them on the way up, it helps.
So the gold is that's the big deal.
So he had the main champ. So the gold would be similar to this one. So
Gotcha.
it's just the WBC silver and WBC gold a little bit, and then you got the main one.
Gotcha.
That's the one that Fury has.
So that's the one for the world?
World, yeah.
So what's that thing look like? That's got to be
It's a little bit heavier than that. Like, so
talking some heavy metal?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I held it once because Bermain Stavern won it before Wilder beat him for it. So I met him in Vegas at Floyd's gym, and he had it, and he let me hold it. I said, man, this is heavy. I need to get one of these, man.
Yeah, it's a real deal.
Yeah, so I need
So
to
you
get
got
one.
to see Floyd Mayweather too.
I saw Floyd spar. He
Yeah.
was getting ready for Pacquiao.
Yeah.
And it was by luck. I went over
So
there.
the money team.
Yeah, I went over there,
Yeah.
and Cuba Gooding Jr. It was a bunch of people in there.
He's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
He's got more money than
Floyd?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he's like a
15
billionaire.
minutes.
Yeah, he's never lost, right?
No.
I think he's ever lost a fight in his whole career for 50 fights or something.
Yeah, never. No.
So I don't think we'll ever see something like that again. So just the fact that you got to share time with him, Tyson Fury, you'll probably be sharing time with these guys in the future. And guess what? We'll always be supporting you here in the little town of Waterford, New London County. And I will be getting out to a fight.
Yeah.
I know I've been telling you, I'm coming. If it's New York, New Jersey, I'm getting out there to come support you. I've known you since you were young, and we're so happy for you. So thank you for coming on tonight, answering questions. For the fans, we're always going to be supporting you, and Let us know how we can help.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely,
Thank
man.
you. Thank you.
All right.